Hello, this is an introduction video into Excel macros. I'm making this video for beginners, anybody who's kind of interested in what macros are but don't really have any experience with coding or any type of coding languages. I'm going to show you guys the kind of from step one, how to start making macros. We're going to make a quick and easy basic macro, and what I really want to show you guys is just kind of how to get started and kind of start working this into some of your work that you do. So this video is going to assume that you have some basic Excel skills and that you know how to use basic functions and those types of things. I'm not going to get into some of the entry-level Excel stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you have some kind of background in working with Excel. So in case you don't know, what a macro is basically any action that you do in Excel. There's a code behind it that's running in the background. Whether you're highlighting this group of cells, whether you're copying and pasting it over here, all of those actions are a code inside of the program itself. So what a macro is you're going to basically create a code for the program to run, and you're going to have it do what you want to do without actually having to go and click and copy and paste and do each specific task. You can program Excel to do it for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is up top here in the ribbon, you want to just right click anywhere up here and go to customize the ribbon. Once that menu opens, you're going to click over here to the right. You'll see the developer button. Make sure that's checked and click OK. Now up top here you'll have your developer tab. So click on the developer tab, and over to the left you have a button that says Visual Basic. So go ahead and open this Visual Basic menu. Now the Visual Basic menu is where you're going to write your code. This is where your modules will be that will hold your code. So this part right here shows you the file that you're working in. If you had more files open, it would list all the files here, so it kind of gives you a high level view of what you're doing. You have your file, your sheet, and if I right click over here, you're going to go to Insert Module, and this will give you a module. This is where you can write your code that you want Excel to run for you. So just the very basic step one to writing a code, you have to type sub, the name of your macro. We can just name it my macro, and open close parentheses, and then you can see it automatically puts end sub. So anything inside of here is any code that you put inside of here is going to be the macro, is going to be what Excel runs. Okay, so there's nothing here, it's not going to run anything. We just created a module basically, but there's no code in here. So let's just close this. I'm going to delete this, and no, we don't want to export. Let's close this. Okay, so this sheet that we're working in is just a basic sales report sheet. By month you can see the sales, you can see the customer count per month, and just a percentage versus last year. It varies depending on the month. So let's just very basic, let's just say that your daily task every day is to come in here, highlight this sales report, and paste it over here. For whatever reason, let's just say that's your task. This is a very basic task, but let's just say that this is your task every day. You come in, you highlight this table, and you paste it over here every day. So what we're going to do is make a macro that's going to do this for us. There's no reason in doing these mundane tasks every day. You can program Excel to do it for you. Okay, so let's just go ahead and delete this again. Now the first thing we're going to do, in future videos I'm going to get into actual writing of code, but this is with a basic introductory video. I want to show you guys how to record macros. This is a good way to just start learning how to make some pretty simple macros, and then once you read the code inside of it, you can start to understand exactly what's going on, and that's the easiest way to learn how to make macros. I think the quickest way also. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, click record macro. It doesn't really matter what the name is. We can just leave it macro 1. Click OK. And now anything that we do after, while it's recording, you can see how it says stop recording. That means that we're still recording now. So anything that I do now is going to be recorded in code. So I'm going to highlight this table. I'm going to push Control C to copy. I guess I'll just right click and copy. And I'm going to paste it over here. And then I'm going to hit stop record. Now if I go back into the Visual Basic screen, you can see there's a module here now. I deleted the old one, so this one was created with the recording that I did. Let's double click in here, and now what you see here is the code for what I just did. You have sub macro 1, which is the name I gave it when I originally pushed record. And anything that you see here after these apostrophes, these are basically just comments. So this is just kind of a description of what you put there, but you can put anything here. Is my first macro. You can just put descriptions. If you have a long list of macros, you can kind of label them and say this, this part does this certain function, and that way it's kind of easy to keep track of what you're doing. But this is not too important. So what we're gonna do, if you look down here, kind of just try to space things out a little bit. So if you start looking here, you have basically each line here is the way that Excel runs the code is it steps through each line. So once you start up here at the top, you start coming down. These are comments, so these don't do anything. This is just blank space. So once you get to here, you can see this is the first action. And let's just kind of try to make sense of what it's saying here. You have your range. Inside of the parentheses and the quotes, you have your range that you're telling it, that you're kind of declaring in here, and then dot, and then usually there's an action that comes after the dot. So if I were to delete this and push dot, you can see a whole menu of actions appears here, different functions that I can do with this range. But we're going to keep it simple. We just want to select this range. Okay, and then on the next line, what do we want to do with the selection? Selection dot copy. Okay. Now on the next line, we have our range K1 dot select, and with this range, active sheet dot paste. Now sometimes the language can get a little bit confusing. There are multiple ways to do different things, and when you're recording functions or recording macros, it sometimes takes a different approach that might seem more complicated. There are multiple ways you could paste. You could probably do this whole macro in one line, but we're just learning here, so this is pretty simple. pretty simple to do. Now if we look, what we can kind of do is I'm gonna try and put these side by side over here. Let's do it like this, so that basically what I want to do, let's zoom out a little bit here. What I want to do is show you guys the step by step. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, and what I want to show you is the debug mode. In the debug mode, what you can do is step into, or you could also hit F8. I'm gonna hit F8. So as you hit F8, it's going to run through each line. It skips this because this is nothing, and now you're on the first line. So you're gonna, once you hit F8, it's going to execute this line of code. And you can see over here, it selected my range that I told it to select. If I hit F8 again, it's going to copy it. You can see it's copied to the clipboard. Now in my next line, I'm going to hit select K1, and if I hit F8 again, it's going to paste and then end sub, and that's it. Simple enough. Now let's say that we had multiple years here. Let's just say this report got bigger. So I'm gonna insert a column here. We're gonna put year. We can put 2017. Let's copy this down, and we're just gonna go ahead and copy this down here. It doesn't really matter. We'll put this as 2017, and I know this doesn't make sense because of the percentages, but that doesn't matter here. So let's just say that now you have two reports in here that you want to paste over here. Let's delete this. Okay, now let's just say you're using this code as a template for what you want to do. So what we want to do is expand this range. Now our range starts at A1, but it doesn't end at D13 anymore. It ends at D25. So I'm going to come in here and change this to D25. And then instead of selecting K1, because K1 is too far, I just want to put it at G. So I'm going to change this to G1. And now I'm going to run the code. I'm just gonna run this by going through F8. So I'm gonna hit F8. Keep tapping it. Oh, and now you can see I forgot to expand because I added a column in here. I needed to expand this. So I'm just gonna, let's just hit stop here, kind of reset everything. So I'm going to come in here and I want this to be E25. Okay. So let's try and run through this again. I'm gonna hit F8. There we go. We selected the right range there. Copying it, selecting G1, and pasting. And that's it. So one thing that I do need to show you that's important is when you're saving a macro, you have to make sure to save it as a macro file type. So what you got to do is go to File, Save As, and save where you want to save it, and make sure in the Save As type you have it selected as Excel macro enabled workbook. This is the only way you can save a macro. So make sure you save it like this. And we're just going to go ahead and replace it. Okay. And I can just show you guys a quick little tip. Just kind of insert a button to make your macro work a little bit easier. You can just kind of insert a shape. You can really do this with anything, like a picture or whatever you want. we'll just kind of make it nice and pretty. Just format it however you want. Okay, so what you're going to do is right click on this and click assign macro, and then here you'll see your list of macros. So we're going to select our macro 1 and click OK. So now if you hover over here, you can see you have the hand, and anytime you click this button it's going to run the macro. So let me just delete this really quick. I'm going to click the button, and you can see it just ran my macro. And that's it. I mean, that was a pretty basic introductory on how to use some macros, how to manipulate them a little bit. You can kind of use this to maybe copy some templates and kind of adjust them a little bit. You have to get familiar with some of the language, but that'll come with practice and doing research online and that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll be more than happy to help. If you have any requests, let me know. And thanks for watching.